Hello, this is Joe, and Louise is with me. We're doing a video today on correcting a little bit of misinformation, some things that come out. Everybody knows we're stickler for facts, so we wanted to clear a few things up. Hi, Louise.
Hi, Joe. You okay?
I'm doing great.
Excellent. So we're going to go over some of the statements that are made in this video that's come to light recently. So let's make a start.
Is that the Facts versus Fiction fan club?
Yes, that's the one. That's the one. Definitely. The hot facts and fiction.
I'm enjoying all the attention they're sending our way. It's great. A lot of people are getting to hear the facts now.
I know. I mean, considering that they've not heard of us, they don't go on about us. But there's not to queer as folk.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get started.
Go for it.
Right now, Greg, 2 weeks in a row. Telling you. Enjoy it.
It's fun.
I just can't wait to meet Mama Gamer.
Oh yeah, me too.
Mama Gamer.
Too. I'm looking forward to
the final
that.
boss.
Okay. Well, what can you say to that, really?
Well, they're playing around, and I think it's kind of funny. I mean, they're trying
to make you go, I'm going to take these lot seriously.
Yeah, they want to reopen this case, but they're playing around, distracting each other with this stupid stuff. And at the same time, they're sending all these people to come see who we are, and they're getting all the facts. So, I mean,
there's no like when they release invite or anything, is there?
It's like whenever they released the journal. I don't think they read it first because it solidified everything we've been saying for 7 years. Now they're doing more to help our cause than anybody.
I know.
It's kind of humorous.
It really is. It really is.
But we appreciate it.
Definitely.
Thanks.
No such news as bad news.
Yeah.
Well, Greg was just talking about having us on to talk about David Crowley.
I would love to do that. Oh my God.
Well, if you're going to talk about David Crowley, you need to at least know the basics and facts of the case, and you have to read all of the reports and not take anyone's word for anything.
Some of them have admitted they haven't read the reports.
Pardon, Joe?
I said some of them have admitted they haven't read the reports. And I mean, how are you going to make an objective decision about a case that you haven't even looked at everything on?
Precisely. I mean, what was it? Greg had posted something about not knowing about what the layout of the Crowley's back garden was regarding the fencing. Dude, you're supposed to have like studied this religiously for like 7 years. You should know it like the back of your hand. And just for clarification, there was chain link that was dividing the boundaries of the neighbours, and then there was a wooden fence in the back garden that went across the back boundary line. But you can walk round the Crowleys from side, round the back, and back through the other side. It wasn't gated or anything. There wasn't anything sort of a secure gate, but there was a pull across mesh.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It's kind of a chicken wire thing that David kind of put together just to keep paleo in between him and Judy's house.
Yeah, that's it. But Greg should know that, seeing as he's devoted so much time apparently into researching the facts. But hey ho.
Friends in the chat now, and I'm sure they have. I know one of them, maybe both of them, have a lot of questions for you, Laura, about your dealings with the crime boss and all of their their little minions and everything.
I would love to talk to Sophia, and who's the other one?
Catherine.
Well, you might want to check out Christina's video that's going to be coming out, where we go over the truth about what Laurie was saying about Catherine, Sophia, Greg, Dan, Eric. Jamie.
Yeah, she talked horrible about them, all of them. I don't understand. And now she's jumping in with them like they're just, they hung the moon. It's
If she
kind of
was in Batman,
silly.
she'd be Harvey Two-Face.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't understand it. I mean, why stab everybody in the back unless you were? Maybe they sent her to troll us. I don't know. They've done that before. Catherine sent that other Lori over to troll us, so and then admitted it. So
Yeah, I
you
think
know,
what it is they know that they really aren't getting, considering that they've got nearly 4,000 members in their group, they're only getting 100 views, 150 on a good week. They're really not getting anywhere near the support that they should be, or anywhere near the analytics that they really should be, if people were really buying what they're selling. And clearly they're not.
They don't have any facts. They have no facts.
They
I mean, everything they have is
YouTube channels because they are fake news propaganda broadcasters. So they keep having to set up new channels because they just spit garbage all the time. So they're out to try and get more views, and they think the way to do that is to antagonize us and try and create drama because that's really what justice is about, and getting justice and reopening the case for David because you think he's innocent, but you love to create all this drama and try and play everyone off against each other.
Speaking of reopening the case, Catherine's been sitting on this MPFT evidence for what, 4 or 5 years now?
Yeah, and all the other evidence that they reckon that they found, but no professional agrees with them and will touch it with a barge pole because they know it's just their opinion and it's not based on anything factual. It won't stand up in court. It's just hearsay.
Their main goal is to get the case reopened, but she says she has the bombshell evidence, but she won't release it. Her imaginary coroner friend won't come forward.
Exactly.
I don't know if she like lives in a pretend world. She has an imaginary coroner friend. She thinks the gun on the floor was made of hair, and there's toe marks on the inside of David's skull. I don't know how that works.
Footprints that were made out of handprints.
Yeah, Ken Gardner project.
Experts and the scientists know what they're doing. None of the investigators know what they're doing. No one who you contact independently knows what they're talking about. It's just Greg and Sophia and Catherine. They're the only loosely termed experts that they can get to cover the case, and that's because they're not experts. And Sophia says, or Catherine says, or Greg said, is not going to stand up in any kind of court case for anything. It would be laughed out of the courtroom. But
right, and how many professionals have told them, no, you're wrong? Like Leon Kelly, he had to actually tell her, look, you're putting a bunch of stuff in my mouth I didn't say. Yeah,
I keep forgetting about that. But yeah, he did, and he put it on her page, on her YouTube channel, and she hid or deleted the comments. They've tried to slag off Ken Mains because he didn't agree with them as well.
Yep.
And we've reached out to various experts of DNA and forensics and stuff who we found through various universities, and they've clarified things, and this lot still try and poo-poo everything. But, we can... As people will see as we go through this video and point people in the right direction to find, here they are saying one thing this week and here they are saying something completely different 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yep. And yeah, that's not how you research. I mean, if you research, you find out what's true, and then you decide, which way the case leans. You don't just make it up.
Exactly, and you don't just go, right, well, okay, we'll cross them off the list because they're not telling us what we want to hear. Let's see if we can find somebody else. They've exhausted a list of people and nobody will agree with them, not because there's a cover-up, but quite simply because your so-called facts are wrong.
Well, if they don't agree with them, they end up being on the suspect list. They make it to the butcher paper.
I know, which gets longer and not shorter.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yep, makes no sense. Go ahead.
Catherine. Okay.
Yep. They have a lot of questions for you about that.
I'm sure they do.
What happened?
I'm sure they do. Because you know what? Actually, I think
sorry to interrupt, but have you seen Laurie's profile avatar? It's a snake. How apt is that?
No, I haven't. I don't pay attention to those
Catherine.
people.
Was it
Well, that's who they called Hot Kathy, and so I was
No, we didn't. We've never ever used that phrase. That must have been in
Not
Greg's
sure where that came
fantasy.
from.
Greg's fantasy.
I called her a dimwit, but I didn't call her hot.
No, we just call her Cassie because it's short for Catherine, and it's easier to just say Cassie than to keep saying Catherine, Catherine, Catherine. That's all. There's no hot anything about it. That's just.
Well,
like
I
to
don't
say
think
that
she's hot.
It's just in there.
I'm in love with my wife. I don't think Kathy's hot. I want to make that perfectly clear.
Oh man.
very jealous, so I had to change my name to Hot Greg.
Okay.
So
Okay.
I'm not gonna let that slide. I mean,
No, I wouldn't let it slide either. You know, I think we all should be jealous of Catherine then, because you know none of us have videos like that made of us. We just, you know, how do you get one of them made, Eric?
I'm gonna
Yeah,
go ahead
Eric.
and
So they-
call
It's a
myself
secret.
Lukewarm Spitfire.
Are they saying we made a whole video on that? I don't understand.
I think so. Yeah, they reckon that we've got a video by the sounds of it called Hot Cassie.
Huh. Have no idea. That's made up.
Yeah. Yeah, anyone can feel free to have a look at the whole library of videos on Crowley Case Fact versus Fiction YouTube channel, and if you find one that says Hot Cassie, then
Yeah, let us know.
yeah,
We've been hacked.
we've been hacked. Yeah.
lukewarm spitwater.
Lukewarm Spit. I'm a little bit lukewarm.
Yeah,
Is that your new stage name?
yeah.
What?
We're still waiting for Eric's video here on that. I
It's
don't know.
Stone Cold
I
Jake.
feel like I feel like we should have played some of the videos last week. Yeah, well, it's nice, guys. I have my own fan club. I don't know about you guys, but that shows that I've made it. I don't even know if Jeff does. Jeff should. He's got 4.
Interesting, because the other week Greg was saying he's never heard of us, and yet now apparently it's a fan club. But here they are making a video about us. So I think, like you say, I think we're the ones
it's
that have got
quite
this little
humorous.
fan club.
I mean, they're all about, proving us wrong. They can't show any facts. All they're doing is sitting there laughing and making fun and making up videos that we never made. I don't understand how this is justice for anybody. I mean, they're stroking their own ego at this point. What's going on here?
I think so, because I think, what was it? I think there's about 4 videos they've made just going on about us all the time.
Well, yeah, and
We've got the secret fan club.
they seem to keep saying, Greg says it a lot, that we haven't put up any facts and we haven't proven anything. We don't have to prove anything. It's been proven by the professionals. If you think something else has happened, it's on you to prove something else happened. And you haven't done that yet.
Exactly. And I think, we know that he's watched the videos, but he just doesn't like what he sees because he sees that they contain lots of facts. Because we fact check, we research, and we supply the sources. So you're struggling a bit with that one. Bit of an excuse there.
The facts are getting overwhelming for him.
They definitely are.
No.
Define
Well,
fan.
we could change that. We could change that.
Define fan club.
I have an enemy club. Yeah, I have an enemy club, not a fan club, right?
Right.
That's
when
what I
you
call
know-
a fan club.
That's when you know you're doing it good. Like Eric's got a hate club. Jeff's got the hate club. I've got
Yeah,
one. And
that's correct.
now
I think they've got hate clubs, if that's what you want to call it. I think they've got channels because all they do is troll people while saying that they're global watchmen, seekers of truth. You wouldn't know the truth if it slapped you in the face, love.
I don't understand what's going on with this.
It's
How
just,
is this justice? I don't.
I've got
What is
no
this?
idea.
What is this doing? I mean, is there any facts they're going to put out, or I don't care about them making fun of me because it gives more people our name and they come looking for us, so they get to see the facts that way. But it doesn't bother me a bit. But what's the point?
Exactly. I mean, so far there's been nothing factual. It's just tittle tattle, like mean girls at school, at high school, just giggling and being
I
little
know.
bitches.
I wish I could play pretend all day long every day.
I
I have
know.
to be an adult.
I know. I know. Living in fantasy land here.
Fan club, right?
Right?
So I just
That's
That's
when
what I
you
call a
back
fan club.
a little
That's
bit.
when you know you're doing it good. Like Eric's got a hate club. Jeff's got the hate club. I've got
Yeah,
one, and,
that's
and
correct.
now we find out that Greg has one too.
I have a
This is
love
time-
club.
This,
They love
this
me.
time when we have to have an inside joke. I got 50,000 gangs coming after me for 50,000 years.
I run with 12 gangs.
The heck are they talking about?
Yeah.
I don't know. It makes you think that they're on drugs or something.
I don't understand. I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It doesn't make any sense.
I know. Oh dear. But at least they're having a nice time.
Yeah, they're having fun.
They're everywhere. They're popping up here, popping. I think one's popping up in my basement right now, drilling through.
We got gangs within gangs up in here.
Who is that? Who's that
Gangs
Mexican
and
drug
gangs.
lord that with tunneled everywhere?
Chapo?
Chapo.
Oh, Chapo.
El Chapo. I think El Chapo's popping up in my basement right now.
It happened.
Oh! There's Pete Sanchili. What's up, Pete? I'll be back. It was all LARP.
Holy.
Oh,
goodness.
Wow.
it was all LARP.
So what's going on?
The chat room's like, who the fuck?
Did El Chapo kill Crowley? I don't know what's going on.
That'll be next week's video. No, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, but I think more importantly, they don't know what the hell they're going on about either.
Well, is this?
I don't know.
I mean, is this how they prove David's innocent? I guess.
I guess
I don't
it
know.
must be. It must be.
It's Pete Sanchili.
I don't know if to tell you the truth, Greg, I don't know if it brings back memories or if it brings back nightmares. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm sure. Hopefully, not too many.
Sophia says the hot Greg fan club.
That's right.
Right.
Well, Sophia is Greg's #1 fan. She gets very, very, very protective of Greg if anyone else tries to get close. So watch your back, because it'll be your turn next. How many people have come to us over the years saying that they have problems with Sophia, or Sophia has problems with them because they start getting too close to Greg, and I don't know, I think she feels like pushed out or something, and she gets very controlling and aggressive, and then she blocks everyone so no one can see what she posts.
Well, I would never expose anyone, but if Greg knew the sheer number of people that private message us from his group talking about them, he would just absolutely shut it down. He'd be so embarrassed.
He really would. I mean, I'm almost embarrassed for him. Bless him.
But those people are afraid to talk out loud because they do stuff like this, like they're doing right now.
And that's
So,
why nobody comments on them.
Yeah. So they kind of shoot themselves in the foot that way.
Exactly. I mean, so far, you think they've been going for 5 minutes, and this is supposed to, this is when, like Greg says, how he will talk to people who think that David is guilty, and he's open for discussions, yet all they've done is like attempt to mock and ridicule and laugh, which doesn't really make you look like an approachable group of people to have a discussion with. Hence why it's crickets in that group of nearly 4,000 people.
And if Greg acted like a normal person and treated people with respect, I mean, there's no telling how many pairs of Gray State panties he could sell.
Too right.
But he treats everybody like crap.
Yeah. This is it. But I'm sure one day he'll fathom it out.
Yeah, they all love me. They make
Oh,
videos
look
about me.
Greg, let me give you a piece of advice. If you hang around us long enough, you'll
Yeah.
have videos made about you, so you won't feel left out.
Say
Oh,
the
okay.
Hot Greg fan club really, really like in your most seductive voice. Ready? Go.
The
The
Hot Greg fan
hot
club.
Greg fan club. Hot Greg fan club.
Yeah, get that.
Do we give them
They're
your OnlyFans
practicing for
page?
some
By the
Hot
way,
some adult lines here.
Are we giving your
Looking
I think
at
you
the
could-
cat.
I thought you had it. I thought it was Mama Gamer. That's
What's going on? I think I need a shower.
fans only page. Well, oh man, we could do so. We'll help you out.
I tried to
I
join. They didn't let me.
I mean, this is all about justice, isn't it?
No, this is about. I don't know what it's about.
Me neither.
Anyway, I mean, this is just ridiculous. Is there any facts you want to go over? Anything we need to correct?
Oh. So far, there's nothing yet.
Yeah,
no.
I tried.
What?
No, you got to be hot in order to join.
With your freshly waxed ass, they wouldn't let you join it.
No, man. They
What?
said you're lukewarm
Ooh.
Eric. You got to be hot. All right. Little passion.
Lori, why was there never a part 2 with the gamer's mama and all that? Was it just
Because when I found out how vicious they were in the chat, basically, I really don't want to say this. They were they had lost the sight of talking about David Crowley, and they were after Jamie, you, Scott, and I wasn't going to make it. Simple as that.
I can go through the broadcast we
She
did.
was talking the most crap about them in that chat. All of them. How horrible they were. Jamie can't talk plain and all this. He's an idiot, a womanizer. And
calling him like Aussie slob and all this sort of stuff.
yeah,
think,
and we lost focus of the Crowley case, but listen to what they're doing. They're talking about waxing asses. I mean, what's that got to do with the case?
It's very rare I'm speechless, but right now I am speechless.
I don't, yeah, it's like, we can say all these things and do all this, but anybody else does it, they're wrong.
Exactly.
We hold,
Well, Christina's
yeah.
going to put the whole damn lot up, so they'll see, people can see for themselves and see how Laurie's put up her personal picture of herself in there with that snake face, because she certainly is the snake.
Well, this is what happens.
Here, but she was like, really bitching about them.
Yeah, this is what happens though when you have no facts. I mean, you have to do stuff and fill time like this, and the only way they can, stop these overwhelming facts that we have is to try to make fun of us and make everybody think we're just crazy nut jobs.
Exactly.
But at the same time, they're sending everybody to us to see that we're not nut jobs. It blows my mind.
It's just crazy. But this sort of shows the mentality. But hey ho.
Almost at 1,000 hits now. Where in the comment section they had a lot to say.
Yeah, there you go.
Have you gone through that comment section ever, Greg?
I don't think so. No.
Oh, no kidding.
Wow.
No.
No.
Yeah,
We got about 20 minutes left. Let's go through it.
yeah, they have a lot to say, but I was not gonna.
How did she know? Because she wouldn't actually listen.
Yeah, she was making up stuff about babies and hospitals, and she had all these issues. So I don't know what she's talking about.
My naughty little puppy has just knocked over my cup of tea so that she can drink it. She's a little fiend. Little git. Hold on one moment, Joe.
All right. I'm not. Are you there?
Yeah.
I'm not hearing the audio. Is it
Oh,
played?
right. Hang on.
Okay.
Let me just do the stop the share. And then probably just wants me to add, I know what it was. Thanks, Matt Joe. It should.
Scott, who's
Can you hear it now?
Yep. Now it's working.
Wasn't he the one that was on with Jamie, that was from Australia too?
Zadak?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. I know what you're talking about.
Okay.
Okay. Oh, he was on there too. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't.
You know.
See, I haven't seen their show
And
either.
I
I saw the.
I was on the outs with Jamie at the time. We had not patched things up. We were still, on the outs. Same with Eric. And I even so, I didn't want to be a part of that. I didn't want to open up that. I had no desire to attack anybody because of their difference of opinion on what it.
I think a text messages will beg to differ.
Yeah, she said a lot of stuff, even if they were on the out and she didn't want to speak about it. She said a lot.
Exactly. And she went to
Whatever.
Christina trying to get, so she clearly just likes to play people off against each other, and looks like this lot are dumb enough to fall for it.
Yeah, I don't have time for that high school bullshit.
Especially looking when you can sit there and just blatantly ignore the evidence that you brought to light, and reading through
What evidence?
Journal.
They don't have any evidence. They have opinion, and Laurie never even looked at any of the evidence or engaged in any conversation. So she's talking out of her arse.
And seeing his decline in his mental health, I couldn't do it by my conscience. I said no, and it was set to go off. You can ask. I think Ken and Linda were in the chat. The link was up. We were set to go. It was going to be 1 o'clock. It was a Thursday afternoon, and I think I canceled it at 11 o'clock in the morning. Basically told them to go kick rocks.
No, you didn't, Laurie. You just deleted your Facebook profile because you're a chicken with no flipping backbone who doesn't have the ability to stand up and actually be honest with people.
We saw the messages where we were talking about each other and trying to figure out where she was, because she just left. She didn't say nothing. And it was directly after she started bringing up Chris Cornell in our group.
Yeah.
And I told her I was very interested in it because I love Chris Cornell. And if she had some other information that I hadn't heard besides Google, that I would love to hear it. Well, she didn't have anything, and she got pissed.
Yeah, and she brought up Chester, didn't she? Not realizing that Christine is related to him and his family. Yeah. And she started talking shit there, and Christina put her in a place about her wild accusations and stuff there, because it seems that this lot are just completely ignorant to mental health and depression and suicidal thoughts, that they don't think it's possible for anyone to ever commit suicide. They always have to be murdered. And it's tiresome. They think that they're free thinkers and open-minded, and yet they're as predictable as ABC. Someone dies, oh my God, it's a cover-up and it's a murder. And they don't do any research, and they don't seem to realise the harm that they are causing to these people and their families by spewing all of this rubbish.
And
granted, some cases are strange, and some people do get bumped off. No one's denying that, but not everybody is bumped off because they commit suicide. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, and the only thing that they have to go on is he was making a dystopian movie. So what? Lots of people have made those, and they're not all dead.
Exactly. And it wasn't like David was releasing some newfound secret that no one's ever heard of. It's all stuff that loads of people have heard of it for years. Everybody's heard of Bohemian Grove. Everybody's heard of the Georgia Guidestones. Everybody's heard of the Bilderberg. Everyone's heard of all these things. Everybody knows about Kennedy. Everybody knows that the government do covert operations that aren't always in the citizens' best interest. Everybody knows that.
Right.
He's not bringing anything new to the table. He was just putting it in a bloody story.
And then, if the assassins came in, why did they leave all this stuff? If that's why they killed him, he had all these secrets. He had to have them stored somewhere.
Exactly.
They didn't take nothing.
No, they didn't take
So
the movie. They didn't take his research. They didn't take jack shit.
So what exactly were they stopping?
They went to steal fresh air.
We don't like your trailer you made. You're dead. It makes no sense.
It's just so desperate. So
But
so
I mean,
desperate.
I guess it's fun to play pretend, I guess.
And to try and make attention for yourself and, try and promote your channel through other people's misery.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think it got struck.
Disappointing.
I'm unable to find it. Yeah, it looks like I'm on strike till
It's a
sometime in
private. Or
June.
You can
Next
go.
time I broadcast on the Sentinels of Truth is June, unless they strike another video.
they're gonna strike you. Don't worry, Eric. They'll strike you down, and you will become stronger than ever.
That's right. That's right.
But Lori, I that video that you sent me, I did watch it. It was a little painful, but I did leave a lot of comments in
You
there
did.
too to kind of because I was like, wait a minute, you guys have got so many things wrong here.
Mhm.
Like, it was really interesting to hear what they were focusing on and
Yes.
what they weren't focusing on. It's like, wow, you guys, and there's just
Totally
there was so much in there.
Totally missing the whole point of everything. I mean, literally, just
And you could tell that they were really lazy. They did not do any research. They did not actually look at any of those documents.
This is coming from Greg, who does not understand what exceptionally cleared means, does not understand DNA, does not understand DNA testing, does not understand.
I just read a comment the other day where Greg said that irregular DNA, such as blood or whatever, would wash out touch DNA. I mean, that makes no sense. They combine. They make a mixture. One doesn't wash the other out. I mean, it's that kind of ignorance, and
I know, and Amy's written a whole book that is just like completely full of false information, and it's just loosely based on a fact which Greg then turned into a complete fictional account. It's if you
we researched everything.
Yeah, and that's not us going, oh, we've read this and we've looked at it and this is our opinion. This is that we've actually done proper research where we found sources of information and studies. We've contacted experts, professionals.
Exactly.
And then
and it's like the
they said.
Like the scavenging thing. They say that they've always said that it couldn't happen. Dogs wouldn't scavenge. Paleo wouldn't eat his owners. He loved them too much. But if you do the research, you can find literally thousands of cases of this happening.
Yeah.
All
sizes of dogs do it. Cats do it. Hamsters and gerbils do it.
Yeah.
It is so common. It's just that it's not a very nice thing to talk about. So, shelter dogs, previous owner from a loving home, sadly the owner passed away. They're not going to advertise the fact that there's a good chance that animal scavenged on the body because it is it's going to put people
natural
off. But yeah,
it's animal instinct. I mean, and they are rewriting thousands of years of knowledge that these things happen and animal instincts to fit this fantasy narrative. So it happens all over the world, and it's happened for so many years, thousands of years, and it's natural. But in this case, it doesn't exist. Makes no sense.
Yeah, it's not allowed to happen in this one instance.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I mean,
that's why
it's
they
the
always
same with the. Sorry.
Sorry.
I was just going to point out that it's the same thing with like the mannequins. Colin said that he thought they were mannequins, and they say that nobody does that. They have a whole video on it. However, if you look it up, there's literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of cases
I think we
happens
did a
all
video
the
about
time.
it. I think we did a video
Yeah.
covering it with like all the different sort of articles and things where it was stated. So yeah, that shows you how very little they actually do in research, because if it goes against what they're trying to sell, they won't look at it. Simple
Well,
as.
a real researcher would look all this stuff up and take an objective look and say, okay, well, this does happen, but did it happen in this case? Instead of just making up a blatant lie and saying, okay, it doesn't exist.
For sure. For sure.
It's aggravating.
Documents. Why? Because they haven't read them. Because if they have read them, they would know exactly what those documents say.
Greg, we gave you half the documents you've got.
And it would be very,
Good
very
point.
clear. They would have a whole different topic. But I do feel bad
You know
if there's
what, Greg?
anyone
I
out
think
there.
if they even read those documents, I think that just because of
No one really cares what you think, Laurie. You're new. You don't know what you're talking about, and you're a shit stirrer.
the feelings that they have for you, that they wouldn't change their mind. You know, and I don't believe that anything anybody can say to them is going to change their mind at this point.
You mean change Greg's mind, Sophia's mind, Catherine's mind, because they're the ones who are so adamant that they won't even look at any other accounts of anything. They won't look at any evidence. So whatever.
Like pot, meat, kettle, right?
Definitely.
Up. There it is. And you said they didn't come at me. They did. They came at me at this comment section for sure.
Oh, good. Well, finally.
Well, yeah. I mean, I prefer they come at me video wise.
Look at the nutballs commenting. Yep, there's Eric.
Yeah, I mean,
such a grown-up response. Such a debater.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of comments about this that we did. There you go.
Yeah. Yeah.
Deep State Granny.
Greg is incapable of kicking anything. He's a coward. Wow.
Capable of kicking any. Who did I kick?
It's a Greg is incapable of kicking anything. He's a coward.
Oh,
By
I'm
the way,
a coward.
just so you don't look silly, the next time you try to tell your fan club about decob, you can't have maggots without flies. And in December in Minnesota, there isn't a single fly. There is if the house is warm.
Well,
no,
and I think this is kind of really, why is she attacking Catherine? Because the other week, Catherine was on a live stream conference call with them and with William Rails, and they was talking about fruit flies and house flies. And Catherine said, to comparing like apples to oranges, she's lived in Minnesota. It's too cold in the winter. There won't be any flies. So why is Laurie saying something different about Catherine? I mean, we don't always see eye to eye with Catherine, but I will give Catherine like credit. She does put time in to try and like find things out, even if they're not always right. But she was saying on that about that it's too cold, they're dormant. So why is Laurie saying that? Because she's trying to get personal with Judy and try and twist what Judy's saying, which is a fact. And Catherine also agrees with Judy.
Well, so they got to twist it up to make it,
Right.
Yeah, I've never talked about that though either, and that's partially.
Why would you not be talking about it? It's part of decomposition. You should be talking about it. You make no sense, Greg. And you have been saying about it because you've been arguing it for like 6 years about bloody flies and maggots and everything. But finally, Catherine got round to sort of covering that. So they don't know what they're telling you from 1 week to another week.
What they do is they don't stay focused on what I'm talking about. If they're my fan club, they need to at least focus on what I say and then try to respond to what I'm saying there. That's what's going to make you part of.
Nobody responds to you, Greg, because you blocked everybody, you dumbass.
Yeah, and if you're making it up, I mean, what is there to listen to? We've heard it all.
Yeah.
It's just a made up story. We don't play pretend.
Exactly. And I mean, and this is like, they literally had a conversation about this about 3 or 4, 5 weeks ago. It really wasn't very long ago. Greg, you should be able to remember what you're talking about.
If you don't, that's a whole nother issue.
You've never seen this, Greg, because I mean,
I haven't seen this.
Swarmed by these people. This was 6 months ago. Yeah,
I mean, how could they have so much hatred for David Crowley, so much hatred?
There's no hatred for David, the sympathy and empathy for what David went through, and the sympathy for what you put his family through.
They're really having trouble staying focused,
He really does.
aren't they?
But then, you know, if you tell so many lies, you don't know what's
Hard to
truth
keep 'em
and what's
straight.
lies in the end.
For me, for someone that they don't know, it's not like they have the hatred for themselves. I feel like these are people that have, they really are hating themselves and are just
They're
kind
not very happy people. Let's just put it that way. I can
pretty
tell,
much,
you know,
yeah, pretty much.
they don't really have too much going
I have
on.
a good time.
Exactly. I mean, here they are talking about us, they talk about the families, they talk about things they know nothing
Well-
about.
Well,
Because
why
their
is
lives
it? Why
are
are
so
they?
full of happiness and joy that all they can do is make hour after hour after hour after hour nightly videos about somebody who they've never met. And you think you've got a
Why?
life.
Yeah, I know, it's ridiculous. Why do you think they're getting personal now?
Because
Because they have no facts.
no,
There's
Exactly.
nowhere else to go. Our facts are starting to get overwhelming. So everybody, look, these people are crazy now.
but it's in one.
I mean, Catherine's saying we went all the way to Colorado to shoot out our damn window. You are not that important.
No, definitely not. And I think, like, you know, we did get to the bottom of that. It did come out about that. I think there was an article or something in one of the local papers that it turned out to be a kid or something.
Yeah,
You know,
whatever.
what they call
They just make it up.
You know, they're
Definitely.
making a difference or having
Attention seeking.
a say. And,
Hmm.
you know, it's almost like they're using this high profile event to like try to
David killing himself in high profile.
The only thing-
No, Johnny Depp and all of that saga, that's high profile, love. This is somebody who hadn't made it. And yes, he could have made it, but he didn't make it. And he killed himself and his wife and his child. There's nothing high profile about it.
The one and only thing we have used this case for is to bring light to these issues for anybody else that might be going through them, to try to help
Exactly.
others.
Definitely.
We're not slinging gray stage panties, you know.
For sure.
We ain't selling nothing.
No, because it's not about the money. It's not about us. It's not about
No.
us making a name for ourselves. It's about doing the right thing by grieving families, the right thing by that little girl, and having it so that people actually acknowledge that her daddy did this.
That's why you don't even see our faces on the video. It's not about us. It's about the case. It's about helping others. Veterans, you know, they're the most at risk, and you know, for this type of behavior. And if we can help somebody else notice,
Yeah,
these,
and it's one of the
these
biggest
signs.
killers, if not the biggest killers in men under the age of 50, is suicide.
Right.
So
Right.
this lot, they just
So-
laugh about it and ridicule it and
Exactly.
make
If they-
it stigmatize it even more.
If they think we're wrong for doing that, then you know, whatever. I'll be wrong. If it helps save a life, whatever.
Definitely. I mean, 100% agreement with you there.
try to get noticed. Let's just
What does
I see.
MBFT mean?
what?
Oh, we know everything about this case, but we don't know what MBFT is.
We didn't coin the
God
term.
help them.
Oh, I'm reading.
Inside the skull shows MBFT.
Yeah, blunt force trauma.
Okay.
Multiple blunt
Multiple
force
blunt force
trauma.
trauma.
And
Yeah.
Mama Gamer here is claiming the final boss once again, folks, is claiming that that's
That's
going-
what you said. Okay. That's what she said. That's what Catherine. That's what
Oh.
Hot Kathy said. I see. Yeah.
Oh,
Okay.
there's-
So it's
there's
hard to read
hundreds
because they're
of
kind of
comments
out of
here.
order.
We
I
could
see.
spend it.
Oh, it's hard to read because everything that you talk about makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
We could spend all night, probably the next 5 hours, going through how many comments came from these people here. And you
So
haven't
this
seen-
was 6 months ago. No, I haven't seen any of this stuff. Let me.
we were
what,
talking about
read.
a lot of things as we normally do, but they'll
Who
fill
was
in the
smoking a
blanks.
bowl here? Wait, because he's what? I subbed because of my friend Greg. Thanks for helping spread the word that David Crowley did not kill his wife and daughter, and then himself because he smoked a bowl. Yeah, I mean,
No one's ever said that. No one has ever said David did this because he smoked pot. Again, you're just
No.
clutching at straws.
Well, according to them, the pot was planted anyway.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it shouldn't factor into the equation.
Because
If they're
apparently they never
pretend
met with
fantasy.
Peck, did they?
No. They've rewritten the whole story. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
They've all the facts that are there that we know happened. If it doesn't fit their fantasy narrative, they just completely leave it out, and it doesn't exist.
Whereas clearly in the crime scene photos, it does exist, and David speaks through his journal about smoking a lot of weed, and that he is going to try and cut down or smoke less or not smoke it so often. But then he goes on to his absinthe instead. So again, they're just talking absolute crud.
like you were saying, Lori,
Yeah.
it's the foot, and we had a commenter in the Justice for David Crowley and Family Facebook group the other day saying that it was a playlist. That's why David killed himself, based on his playlist. Now, the playlist, they couldn't even get the playlist name right. So, I mean, there's just so many things like that, and this is why I'm like, wow.
Wait. They're basing their opinion that he did this on his playlist.
None of us are.
We're lumped in with that. I don't know who said that, but
Don't know who said that. They're not like connected to us. But
so
again,
now automatically, if anyone disagrees with them, they're obviously one of us. I mean,
and this is a
it's
prime
ridiculous.
example of when Greg's saying, "I'm willing to talk about if people think that David is guilty. I'm quite prepared to have a discussion." But you're ridiculing someone. Someone who's joined your group and has a different opinion, and you're trying to publicly humiliate them already.
Well, I mean, the list was there with a suicide note. He left it playing while they're all dead in the house. I mean, it did have something to do with it. I don't think what he's saying though is they were killed because of this playlist. I don't know how that makes any sense.
I don't think even Greg knows how to make anything make any sense.
But even if that list wasn't a part of the thing, the murder suicide, it still was playing there.
Yeah,
it's still
relevant.
to be taken into consideration for what it is.
Definitely.
That's what a real researcher does.
Definitely. Everything that is there meant something in that moment to David. It's quite simple. Whether Greg wants to accept that or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
That's true.
That's what one.
So is he saying something then?
No.
Okay.
One of the commenters said, "What does that say? Read it."
Read this.
Kind of.
He also called his own daughter a pink shit who ruined him and Kamala's lives and called her a sis. Oh yeah,
he did.
I
never heard that.
Mama Gamer. She discussed.
Did that happen, Greg? Was there any...
from the journals?
Journals.
Yeah. So I mean, you have to read it in the full context.
Its context, yes.
What kind
What's
of
that context?
Yeah.
So I mean, he speaks about Ronnie. Like she's just this horrible little thing that shouldn't be there. And he speaks about Paleo like it's his best friend. And I mean, there's no other context. I mean, if you're going to say that, it's like advocating for, mental abuse on a child.
Yeah.
Basically.
There is no context in which that is acceptable. He didn't just say it to somebody on the spur of a moment where they were having like a stressful day. He wrote numerous times about how having Ronnie in his life, he felt he was being robbed of things. And
his time with Camille.
Yeah. So how can you call that? How can you say that, like, living with a cis and a pink shit? What possible context can you come out with, Greg, where that is acceptable?
Well,
You're
that's what I'm
saying it is.
saying is it's like me saying, well, or Greg saying, okay, my wife is getting in the way of my relationship with my cat. I really love my cat so much, but this woman is keeping me from my cat. I can't love my cat all I want to.
Yeah.
And
if somebody then read that, you're telling me that they would go, oh, that's perfectly normal in context. They're not going to say that at all. They're probably going to be like ringing the police and saying, I think he might be doing dodgy things with his cat because he loves his cat more than his wife. He resents his wife. That's not normal.
Yeah. And that's the thing. My kids frustrate me on a daily. Not one time have I ever thought, oh my God, I wish they didn't exist.
Exactly.
Never.
Exactly.
It's not normal.
No, it's not. That, there is no justifying that other than saying that David had difficulties.
I guess if David's your hero,
difficulties.
If David's your hero, though, you got to kind of cover his ass for him, I guess. I don't understand why they all have such a crush on him.
I don't, and how they can't see that the comments that he was making, no one's saying, oh, well, because he wrote that means, that he did this, that, and everything else. That's not what we've never said that, but we have said it shows that David was a different David to what you see through his videos. When you see the videos of him, like when he knows he's being recorded, when he's doing his grave
stuff,
he dotes on her because he has to put that image across. But in private, he had very real and very serious struggles with being a father and doing the right thing by that little girl. And the atmosphere and the resentment that she must have picked up on must have been awful. And so for this lot to be trying to be all wishy-washy and make out that it really isn't anything, then, like you say, Joe, they're basically advocating for child cruelty.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
I mean, that's if you look at the.
I'm
sorry.
Okay.
If you look at the birthday, I was just thinking. If you look at the birthday party thing, he's talking about people coming in, getting the house dirty, and it's such a bother to him to have this party for his child.
That's
I mean,
a great point.
Disgusting. It's very disgusting. This is her happy, birthday.
Yeah.
She should be having the time of her life. Yeah, and
5. It's the prime time of where she would be enjoying birthdays. The same with Christmas. She should have been, that would have been one of the best Christmases of a little 5-year-old, and the excitement of Santa and everything. And he took that from her.
Yeah.
He took it from Kamel. He took it from his parents. He took it from Kamel's parents to have that family time of seeing your grandchild all excited about Santa and all the Christmas magic. And he stole that from all of them.
I'm not really sure how you can advocate for that type of thing. It's kind of twisted.
It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Well, you have to read the hold your own. See,
was
they
it
like to pull
authenticated
certain
that he
things.
actually wrote this himself too?
I definitely think.
You think he's under EMF attack? Was he under EMF attack?
I don't know. That's been another theory.
I mean, the excuses because they just cannot accept. I mean, Eric sounds like he's quite shocked by that. I mean, it's a bit surprising considering that you've read the journals. You should already know, but he does sound quite sort of shocked by that admission that David was writing like that about his 5-year-old child.
Yeah, it's very shocking.
Theory.
That was a big one, right? That's the big alternative theory.
That's the first thing that popped into my mind.
Sometimes it's hard for me to tell whether it's them talking or if you're trying to say something.
Oh yeah, no, wouldn't me.
It did happen because
what happened to Max?
Yeah, it's happened. Yeah, it'll happen to David.
I mean, it's just weird how they only take certain comments, but they never take the comments that David talks positively about his daughter.
Oh wow.
Because there aren't really that many There's just like one or two where he says that he needs to try better, and
Yeah.
that's pretty much about
And we
it.
have and
But
we
there's
have
nothing to say
considered
that he's
that.
actually done something to try and make things better.
Actions speak louder than words. And we do consider that because we've looked at it. And you know, the evidence that shows he resented her is very overwhelming.
Mm. He did things because he knew that he had to put on the persona that he was
Right.
trying to be that father, but he was struggling with it. And there's no writing of him saying, I've got a meeting with a counsellor, or we're going for family therapy to try and improve things, because Ronnie deserves to have
Yeah.
a happy family home.
I'm trying to fix this now. No.
No.
They never take those. They never take the comments where David is saying, hey, this is how I really feel, and I know that it is wrong. And he you know, is planning for his daughter's future. He's saying, you know, I need to work on myself. This is David's journal to himself. So this is him. I mean, to be that honest, that's very, very difficult. It's very difficult to put that stuff down on paper. It kind of shows he
I
probably doesn't have
agree.
anybody that he can really talk to about that.
I agree. It's difficult. It is difficult to admit that. And, you know, he admitted it, saw that it was a problem. He was wrong. But what did he do? Shut him off.
Mm. And he only admitted it to himself, but he already knew
Right.
it. But he admitted it to himself in his journal.
Instead of going and taking the steps to fix it, he ended it.
Yeah.
So, I mean, and they're justifying that somehow. I don't understand it.
It's ridiculous.
Stuff
Right.
and putting it down on paper, but then also working through it. This isn't like he was saying those things at the very end of his journal.
He wasn't saying very much at the end of his journal. In the journal that you've got, but you don't have his handwritten journal. So you don't know what was written by his hand.
Well, until what? 8 months ago, this journal didn't exist. We were
Exactly.
liars.
Yeah. You know, that it's just excuse after excuse after excuse. It's quite embarrassing, really.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, so I mean, context is definitely key. But to even say,
but Greg, you don't have the context because you're not Crowley family. You don't know David. You never met David. We didn't meet David. But stop trying to put words into their mouth and say that things mean something when it clearly doesn't mean what you're trying to make it mean. And then you
at the end of the day.
Go on.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
It's okay. I was just going to say, then you go around trying to discredit the family and the friends and people who did know David because they're not saying what you want them to say.
Yeah, at the end of the day, all we're doing is taking an outside look in. And to do that, you have to be objective. You have to take everything that's available to you and weigh it and say, you know, okay, does it lean this way? Does it lean that way? You know, and put it all together. And you only have what's released, you know, and there's a lot we haven't seen.
Yeah.
let's just say David did hated his daughter. You still have to be able to prove that David shot his daughter. We're talking about a 5-year-old daughter, and this is what
the DNA that you refuse to acknowledge proves that David did it. Simple.
Yeah. Recently, weren't they bringing up the knife that wasn't used for anything? Nobody had stab wounds.
Yeah, no stab wounds on the bodies, no stab wounds on the clothing, no other injuries or anything that would go along with being stabbed or slashed. It's just clutching at straws to try and make people think that there's something else going on when there isn't.
Yeah, misinformation, confusion.
off about
For sure.
About these people is that we are talking about a child that was murdered. Okay, this is not a game. This is not something where you take little bits and pieces and this and that.
And
you
they
really
said,
just said that.
I know. And then they're giggling like girls and advocating
Oh my
for
gosh.
David without even, they very rarely mention Ronnie, and they don't talk about justice for Ronnie. They just talk about their idol David and how David.
Well, he's saying it's not a game, and he's exactly right. It's not a game. You shouldn't be accusing innocent people of murder in this family with no proof. You shouldn't accuse Judy of being a cult leader who beheads mixed race babies and all this stuff, adrenochrome and all this crazy stuff they come up with.
People's past because they just happen to know David or they were his friends, and making videos slagging them off.
Yeah, Judy single-handedly killed them, drug them into her garage, and drug them back, and staged the scene. I mean, come on.
Without leaving a trace of evidence anywhere.
Chris Klein's magic bullet. I mean, where does the reality come into this?
I don't think it does.
That or you hate Hot Greg, the master of your fan club, the desire of your dreams. You don't hate him over this stuff. What you really want to do, if you really care about this child, you would really look into the facts and you would focus.
Take a leaf out of your own book, Greg, you deluded bloody plonker. Jesus
I need to go take a blood pressure pill.
Oh my goodness. Does he actually listen to himself?
Because if David did it, we need to know that.
But you refuse to acknowledge anything that shows that David did it.
There's all this proof that leans towards David and shows that he did it, but he doesn't acknowledge it. But he talks about it like he's open to it. It doesn't make any sense.
None whatsoever.
And we need to call him out on that. And if he didn't do it, then there's a child killer out there, and we need to find who that was. And so we got some big issues. That's one of my biggest issue with these people. It's just like, you guys are so disgusting because there is a child killer out there. Somebody murdered.
So you're saying it already, a child killer out there. He's just talking absolute rubbish.
Yeah.
This child, and you people don't care. You're more focused on me.
And hominem attacks. I mean, look at this. Look at this right here. Try researching, says the guy who doesn't know the difference between a name and a phrase.
Because Greg doesn't seem to know the difference between Allah and Allah Akbar. There is a very big difference, and we've gone over it so many times. But a simple Google search will answer that. So that's what Judy was referencing regarding the difference between a name and a phrase.
Forgot a period. Right. Like freaking. What relevance does that have to do with it? Right? Is that how many?
Yeah, it's straw man attacks. They don't have anything, so they're going to go personal. Look at this one. They're talking to Greg. You calling other people failures in life, but you live in your mother's basement. What does that have to do with the murders?
Okay, first of all, I do not live in my mother's basement. But even if I did, they would still be a much bigger failure than I would ever be, because they have failed in this case. They have failed to prove David Crowley guilty. I have not. That's why I win, they lose.
Yeah, you've not failed to prove him innocent. You failed in that. You can't prove him not guilty because he is guilty.
We haven't tried to prove anything. It's already been proven. What do we got to prove?
Exactly. It's just ridiculous. I mean, so far through all of this, there's not been one mention of actual factual evidence.
And as far as getting personal, I never get personal. I go after the facts, the lies, and the made-up stuff. I never get personal, ever.
It's just distraction from Greg.
We know what.
And I mean, Greg has blatantly. Oh,
go on, it's okay. I'll pause.
I was just saying, but Greg was saying that about getting personal. I have seen him. We have screenshots of him calling people retarded because they don't agree with him. If you don't agree with him, then you're mentally disabled, according to him.
Yeah, calling people the Grey State goons, calling the families liars. But no, Greg, You don't get personal.
David
Yeah.
cannot
Right.
be proven guilty. If people want to come and try to tell me that he's guilty, bring it, because you do not have any legs to stand on. You are a disgusting human being to sit there
Whoa.
and say that David Crowley is guilty based on a journal because
So all David's family are disgusting, according to Greg here. All Kamel's family are disgusting. All the friends are, and every single person that thinks that David's guilty. But then, like 10 minutes earlier, he's saying he'll discuss and he's open to listening to what people think and why people think David's guilty. He's just a big hypocrite.
I agree.
I got a punctuation wrong, because I live in my mom's basement. Make sure you get your facts right before you bring any of that stuff here, because
Works both ways, though, that does, getting facts right, Greg. You might want to try it sometime before you start writing fictional stories and saying that they're fact.
all I'm going to bring you is facts on this case.
This certainly
And I'll
looks
bring
like
it to
the
you.
basement my mom would live in right here.
I had
got
forgotten.
mama.
I had forgotten. Nancy.
Yeah, let me.
Nancy in the chat. She says.
Mama
Remember,
M's 83. I'm pretty sure she don't live in the, but I digress.
Nancy
I do
says.
live here. And
I remember Mama Gamer defending Freemasons when someone spoke against it in my chat. Yeah,
That's true.
The subject of Freemasonry did get brought up, and some of the people, Linda and Ken and Dad, started talking about Freemasonry, and she got quite offended that they thought it was.
She has family, I think, that are Freemasons, but I
Yeah.
also think she had a family member that died, that committed a suicide or something like that too, or a murder,
Well, then you would
something
think that
like
she would
that
have a little
too.
bit more freaking compassion.
Yeah, I mean, it's just the whole thing. And look, if anyone knows where my mom lives, she would know there is no basement in her house, first of all. But I have not lived in my mom's.
She doesn't have a basement.
She has no basement.
I love how Mama Gamer, what in the body contains DNA? I don't know. Why don't you tell us? I mean,
What does it say?
You can watch any freaking CSI show and find out, but
she wants to know.
CSI show.
Oh my God. They're getting their information from CSI?
That's what it sounds like. But,
Wow. They do know that's fictional, right?
I don't think they do. I mean, they've referenced Law and Order and Dexter in the past. So
Dexter, yeah.
They don't seem to sort of like realize that there's a big difference between like theatrical effects and special effects, and then
because it was when they were talking. Sorry, when they were talking about Dexter before, they were talking about blood splatter, and they were, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that was the show they were talking about with blood splatter matching up to the Crowley.
Yeah, I think it's like blood splatter and plastic sheeting.
Yeah, and it's ridiculous. That's a false show. It's not true.
It's for effect. They go overboard with the fake blood and all of that sort of stuff. It's just, you've got to laugh, haven't you? I feel sorry for them, really.
It's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you base all your stuff off fictional shows. You say you're presenting all these facts, nothing but facts. I've yet to see one fact come out of there. I begged them to show me something that would change my mind. Nothing has ever happened.
It's just opinion and then attacks, as Greg's been so finely demonstrating.
Know what in the body contains
well
DNA.
I don't I don't get personal. I don't get into that.
No, well, I mean, they're going on about DNA and things. DNA can only be found in cells that contain a nucleus, and not every cell contains a nucleus.
Right. But I don't understand all the DNA stuff, so
we'll
I know you've
we'll save it for another day. But
yeah.
I mean, we've already got presentations and things that go into it in a bit more detail, and emails and things that we've put out from real proper experts in the DNA field. So,
Right.
you know, like they can harp on all they like, but they're not experts.
What in the body contains DNA? What is
Everybody.
that? I don't get it.
Yeah.
How about
neither
let's
we, Greg. We do not get any of that.
okay. Well, yeah, it's this is like people that are like they won't listen. They don't want to talk about the Bible unless I can quote it scripture for scripture or something
Yes.
like that.
Yeah.
And
I don't want to talk about the Bible because it's completely irrelevant. You don't force your opinion. He's going on about like the Bible and quoting the Bible or something, but no one gives a crap about the Bible because it's irrelevant. You know.
So what's that have to do with the Crowleys other than the Quran? But we're not talking about that. What's he talking about? Is he trying to get holy?
Oh, God knows. It's just a normal distraction and sidetracking, wittering nonsense, really.
What happens when the
Not a
facts get
question.
overwhelming, I guess?
do you have
You what, sorry?
the DNA? Do you know what DNA is? Because DNA does not
Well,
exist if you cannot prove what DNA is. I'll tell you what DNA is. DNA is what proves David didn't do it. That's what DNA is. So if you don't understand what DNA is, then I can understand why you think.
But you don't understand what DNA is, Greg, because the whole DNA explanation that you've been using is completely flawed and wrong. And you've been told this on numerous occasions by numerous different people, and yet you still refuse to acknowledge it and put your own spin on it. And Catherine and Sophia have been trying a lot harder than Greg to understand it, but they've almost overthought it that much that they've confused themselves even more, and they've got it really wrong and started making up contributors.
Yeah, he's saying that proves David innocent when there was nobody else's DNA found in the house. I mean, it was only Ronnie, Kamel, and David.
Exactly.
So how does that prove him innocent?
I mean,
and if you
go on, sorry.
If you break it down to like Lukács' theory, nobody can go anywhere without leaving some trace of themselves.
Yeah, like you sent me something in the post. So when I opened that package, your DNA is now in my house, but that you've not been to my house, but your DNA or an item that's in my house will have or potentially have your DNA on. And if I send something to you, you know, there could be a piece of my dog's fur in there, you know, that's got stuck to something. But we've never been in your house. But then that would be a minor contributor should something ever have happened and that item got swabbed. We wouldn't be a major contributor, but we would be a contributor. But we've never set foot in your house.
And that's just like
it's
like
more
recently I sent Ben the package, you know, recently, and now my DNA is on that package. So you say you bring a bloke over and you strangle him to death. Well, they find my DNA in the house, they're going to come question me and talk to me too, even though I've never been overseas.
Exactly. You know, but then they'd work out that, you know, there would be something else in the DNA marker that would sort of say that you're not kind of, you know, you're not a British person.
Right.
You know, like you don't have, I don't know, like Welsh or Scottish DNA, you're American. So then they would be looking at like all that kind of thing. And then, you know.
They're still going to want to talk to me though, just because my DNA was there.
If it was like an item that happened that was like nearer where I hypothetically strangled someone. But yeah, but it, you know, like this is the thing with like the mixtures and things that you can have like traces of DNA through innocent activity.
Right.
But if it was a major contributor, then, and it's on something that's like a key piece of evidence, then that's where you'd be looking at sort of a perpetrator. It's quite simple, really, but because simple equals David and nobody else, they are trying to confuse people by trying to make it more complex when they are not qualified. Like, we're not qualified, but we don't pretend to be qualified to be DNA experts. But we've spoken to DNA experts who are qualified, and then we've relayed the information that they've given to us. There's a very big difference in doing that, and then saying, from when I did this, when I worked here, when I did that.
Are you still there?
I am, yeah. I thought you wanted
to.
Oh, I
thought I lost you.
No, it's okay.
Oh. Well, I mean, it's like whenever we were talking last week about the DNA, and in the reports it says, that it could occur within 11 billion other people. Well,
or 11 billion
right
people
there,
could be ruled out.
Right. So they would have the same DNA, like the same, not the exact same sequence, but similar DNA.
Yeah.
Enough to compare it to theirs. Now they can take those 11 billion people. There's no way they could go through all those, but they can start breaking it down to who's in Minnesota, and then who's in Apple Valley, and and narrow down and get their killer.
Yeah.
So I mean, they've solved their own problems, but they have no follow through. It's just like the multiple blunt force trauma that's made up. An imaginary coroner friend happened to see that.
Yeah.
And then when we check it, it's the inside of the skull. When we ask professionals, they're like, "There's no way you could tell that from a picture." So it's obviously made up.
Exactly, like with the identifying the tool of the six-sided socket wrench or something. It's like there's no way on earth that just even if a forensic medical examiner or coroner or whoever was looking at that picture, they would need to look at this database that has all these tool imprints and stuff, because there is a database that they look at, and it will have every make of like saw, every make of chisel, every make of anything that you can use as a weapon, so that they can look. Even the same with shoes. There's a catalogue of treads of footwear, so they can narrow down. Well, this was released in this date, so these were sold in this area of America, or these were never sold in America, so it's somebody from overseas. There's so many things, but people train for years to study all of that and have it by heart, not just go, oh, well, I can tell you from looking at this one photo, that looks like this. And a mechanic as well, I've got friends who are mechanics, but they don't go around like beating people to death, so they wouldn't know what a spanner or a wrench or a six-sided socket would look like if you wallop somebody around the skull with it, because they don't go around walloping people around the skull with their tools. They fix cars.
I think David Crowley is guilty because you don't understand what DNA is. So why don't you learn what DNA is first? Of course.
No, can I ask you a serious question, Greg?
Of course.
All right. So let's, everything aside, we know that he did not do this. So
you don't know that he didn't do it. You just choose to believe that he didn't do it.
We'll have a killer out there, first of all.
There's no evidence that David did this.
Yeah, okay.
There is evidence that David did it. You just choose to ignore it.
Correct.
All right. So that leaves us to believe that there is definitely a killer or killers still out there. Do we have really any idea who would have done it? Because
no, because nobody other than David did it. And if you start throwing names out, then we'll fool you. And this just shows how spiteful this has got, because you throw out names without giving the monkeys about the implications of what you're doing.
Here's kind of what I'm looking at. If the deep state or whoever powers that be wanted him silenced, they're not going to send in some junkie kid from down the block to commit these murders. They're going to send somebody in who, first off, is going to know how to do this and not get caught doing it. That's my first thought. And my second thought is, if this had something to do with the deep state, the police the detectives could have been in on it too to cover it up. If you want to, I mean, seriously.
So if it's the deep state, then why would the family and the friends cover it up?
Yeah.
And why do you keep on insinuating that Judy has got involvement in it? And anybody who doesn't agree with this spin story that you come out with, you know, David wasn't any threat to anybody. David says that himself. There's nothing in the movie or in the screenplay that nobody has not heard of. It's the
Well, it was
story.
just a trailer in the first place. It was only, you know, it hadn't went very far.
Yeah.
I mean, wouldn't it be easier to go to the producers and say, look, don't make this movie?
Exactly.
Than annihilate a whole family.
Why is Greg, Catherine, Sophia, Dan, why are they still walking, living and breathing? Because they're drawing attention to it. So if they wanted to have it silenced, you know, Eric Nelson, why hasn't he been had a mysterious car crash or something? Because he drew attention to David. It's just poppycock. Absolute rubbish.
One thing that I find really ridiculous about it all and pathetic is they answer all their own questions, and they the way they present it, they have a solution to their own problems, but they can't see it and can't follow it through.
No.
But it doesn't exist, so it doesn't matter. It's all made up.
Yeah, I agree.
You had discussions with some of the police officers from that city, correct, Greg?
Yeah, I spoke with Gummert, and Dan Hinnon also spoke with Jim Gummert too, and another officer. But you know, they really at some point, and you know, they were like, hey, we don't want to talk about this. We're not talking about it, and that.
This is because Greg kept on harassing them when the case was active and open. And he kept on wanting all these questions answered, and they kept saying, we can't answer these until the case is closed. And then he answered Greg's very simple questions, and then was sick to the back teeth of Greg asking stupid questions and then trying to twist his answers. But they made it so that they didn't want to have anything to do with them, and they didn't want to respond to any of their requests, or they didn't want to do any interviews with them because they know that they're just going to twist their words. So again, it's no big secret.
Well, you know, like when
Go on.
Sorry.
Okay.
When Catherine sent Lori over to Trollis, not this Lori Swan, the other Lori.
Yeah.
When she sent her over to Trollis, she actually ended up giving us more information than she was supposed to. And the email that Catherine had put together to send to, I think it was Gummert, right?
Yeah, it was either Gummert or the chief rights in, I can't remember his name. Yeah.
Right.
You know who I mean. But and the email is available on our page, so you can check it out there.
Yes, and it had all the information in it that they're trying to, all the accusations, the people they think killed David and his wife and child. But
fucking dogs.
She, and she didn't add the MBFT evidence.
No.
And that was her bombshell evidence. That's going to reopen the case.
She didn't pass
Why
on
didn't you
the
include
coroner
it?
details so that her coroner friends could assist them. There was nothing, and like Detective Gummert said, there's nothing that you or anyone else has shown us that makes us believe that we've got anything wrong. You know, the case is closed, and that was from Gummert's mouth. Again, they keep harping on saying about the case isn't closed. Case is closed. Gummert said the case is closed. David was found to have a self-inflicted gunshot wound suicide, so there's nothing to investigate there. The only thing that could ever possibly be investigated would be the death of Kamel and Rani, but there's no evidence other than the fact that David did it. So it's just people trying to pacify them, tell them a little bit of what they think they want them to hear, and hope that they'll just shut up and go away.
But it's never enough.
No.
And the thing is, like, whenever they got the information from Tony Floyd, and they got all that information, and they were singing the praises of AVPD.
Mm-hmm.
And then when they're done with that, they turn around and trash them again. So which is it? You can't have everything both ways.
Exactly. 1 minute AVPD are great, the next minute they're saying that they've tampered with all the photos and messed with all the metadata and tampered with evidence. Now they're covering up the crime. And if it was a cover-up, everybody knows this case would never be closed and no one would ever get any information. That's how. You know, even Dan was told that by his police friends, that if it was a cover-up, the police wouldn't close the case, because then when it's in an active state, they don't have to release any information. So they wouldn't have had to have released any of the interviews or the statements or the reports or the photos or anything. They could have just kept saying to Greg, case is still active, the case is still active, we can't release anything. But these, I'm not even going to say the word, these people who spin all of this rubbish can't grasp how ridiculous they sound, considering that they think that they're experts in all of this area. They can't even understand the basic, simple ways that authorities would put things in place if there was a cover-up.
And if you think about the logistics of a cover-up, how many hundreds and hundreds of people did this go through? It was highly publicized. A lot of people looked at it, you know, BCA, there's lab techs. I mean, everybody,
Medical
hundreds of
examiners.
people. Yeah, and somebody at some point would have slipped up and accidentally said something or had a guilty conscience.
Yeah.
That many people cannot keep a secret for that long.
I agree. You know, it's just comical, the things.
And then you have like Whirlpool lady, she posed as an FBI agent.
Yeah.
And made all that stuff up. So Dan, a poison piece of paper or something.
Mm-hmm.
And she immediately threw it in the fire. I mean, what are they, in some kind of medieval laboratory apothecary? It just makes no sense. He could not. How could he not know he was being strung along?
Oh God, I know. But this is the whole point, isn't it, of how they just don't research it. They take anything at face value. If it fits their narrative, it's like, we don't need your credentials. We don't need any. We don't need to know that if you really are an expert, or whether you're just bullshitting us. Because as long as you say what we want you to say, then
you're golden.
Yeah, carry on supporting us with the lies.
Thing down,
and that's the thing. I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, when it comes to things like that, we research it all. We dive into it. We make sure that we're going to put out something that's factual.
Definitely, because we've got a conscience. It's called being a decent human being, and not adding to people's pain and misery.
Right.
Documents before we got a lot of these documents. There are documents we got very recently that other people got that we should have gotten too.
Why should you have got them, Greg? You're not entitled to them, idiot.
Now we're talking about major legal problems here.
No, there aren't any major legal
Here
problems.
we go.
Because you're not entitled to them. It's the choice of the police or whichever department whether or not they give them to you. But seeing as they know that you are just going to twist the words and put it all over the internet, that's why they were reluctant to give you anything, but not reluctant to give it to other people.
Because if these are public documents, everybody should get them. They should not be given to certain people who will hold them because they know it doesn't prove David guilty.
No, they were held because that's the right thing to do, so that it doesn't get exploited by scumbags like you, who were just out to make a name for themselves and do not give two hoots about respecting David Kamel or Rani, let alone their surviving family members. You don't think twice about displaying their decaying bodies on the internet for all to see because you think that's your right, and it is not your right.
I know, and we didn't release things because it was the family's wishes we didn't do that.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't want all that stuff out there. That's personal.
Exactly. And these goons, they would be the first to complain if they were having their lives thrown under the microscope or their loved ones, dead bodies, rotting.
Oh, it wouldn't be fair then.
It'd be completely different then, wouldn't it? You're picking on me. You're harassing me. But when they do it to the Crowley family, then it's under the guise of justice, even though none of them probably can even spell justice, let alone understand or act in the way of justice. Disgusting.
They definitely have trouble with research.
Very much so.
There's a reason why these retards never put out.
See, he's just said it there. Thank you, Greg, for proving. I don't get personal. I'm quite happy to talk about this and that.
So people are retarded that don't agree with them. Retarded is a horrible word to use in the first place. And to use it just for somebody that has a difference of opinion.
It shows he's got absolutely no evidence or nothing to back his argument with. He just has to resort to childish name calling. But it's just, he's just a joke. Pretty disgusting, really.
It's not really funny. I mean, this is a tragic case.
Yeah, they're all sat round sniggering like they're playing party games.
The reason is because they know that it shows David did not do this.
Can't read it.
What does that say? FBI, FBI, CIA. You know, it's really interesting about all of those theories. But the reason why I don't really get too much into who would have or who could have, there could be a lot of different things. You know, a lot of different people could have done it. But it's.
But if you go to Greg's channel, you can see the whole series of A Curious Case of Dan Senior, A Curious Case of Dan Junior, Curious Case of Danny Mason, The Curious Case of Sean Wright, The Curious Case of Eric Saywood. So don't come on a live, Greg, and say that you don't really look at who might have done it, because you've put everybody's name out there and made accusations.
Yeah, well, I mean, who's to say that Greg and Dan didn't kill the family, and now they're putting out this misinformation to cover it up, make everybody look elsewhere.
Exactly. You know, and then steal the screenplays, exploit them all over the internet, try and make their own loosely termed documentary, even though everyone that knows David is never going to speak to these asshats, because they're just a big fat joke, and they just add insult to injury, and they do not have any intention of doing the right thing by David. They won't let him rest in peace. They are scum, and everybody knows it.
It just seems like it needs to be drilled into certain people's heads that, look, David did not do this. You still have a lot of people, mentally ill people, that are just going out there acting like David Crowley did this, and that's it. It's done.
If anyone's mentally ill, Greg, it's you.
It's not funny to make fun of mental illness
No.
in a case where there's mental illness.
Especially when it was rampant in the Crowley home, even by David's own admission. And you've got people like Greg mocking and adding to the stigma.
Yeah, and he's saying that just people that disagree and think he's guilty are mentally incapable, that they're mentally disabled, and that's ridiculous. I mean, it's kind of sickening.
It is, but then that's Greg all over, really. years.
Done. It's like, no. The burden of proof is on the accuser.
No, it's not. It's on you, Greg, because you're the ones who are saying that all the authorities and the family and everybody else is wrong. So the burden of proof is on you.
So now he's just going to prove it.
Yeah, to build evidence in the case that would stand up in court. I mean, the only place that, if you went into court with all of this, you'd probably be taken away and put into some kind of institution because you're not right in the head. But, this vendetta against the families and the fact that you're so delusional that you can't accept actual black and white facts and you keep coming up with this rubbish shows that there's something, if anything is wrong with anybody, there's something wrong with you. And you need to get some help. If you don't, and I think, if you think that we're wrong and we're being mean, go and speak to a doctor and go and show them all of your bumps of info and give them your book and let's see how far you get. Because they're going to look at it and go, no, the report says this DNA is this person's and that's that, and this means this, and that means that, and oh my goodness, he was writing all of this and you still think he's innocent. Okay.
Well, I mean, it's okay to think, it's okay to think that and put out it as your opinion. But when you're going to put it out as fact and call everybody retarded, mentally disabled, and go that far with it, it becomes a problem.
Yeah. And the viciousness in which he does it, it's not normal. It's not like you're having a normal kind of discussion, a grown-up, adult, mature discussion.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite bizarre behavior, really.
Sure is.
Right.
So yeah, so I mean that it's a great question. I think it's definitely something that we all need to look at privately. Put it up closer to the. Put it up closer.
It's invisible
Eric.
ink.
Oh, it's invisible.
It's invisible. It's the invisible enemy. That's who did it.
Oh, Taylor did it.
Oh, it's so funny. It's so funny.
What is it?
Eric's just written on a piece of paper, Mama Gamer did it.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Catherine that has the butcher paper. Last I counted, there was about 25 suspects they had.
The list goes on and on and on and on and on.
Now your video's coming,
Chelsea did
Eric.
9/11. We figured it out. We figured you out. Not only did you do the David Crowley thing, you did 9/11.
Actually, if I had to choose any of them, it wouldn't be Mama Gamer.
Pretty feeble, isn't it, really?
It's ridiculous.
It would be
serious case. People lost their lives.
I know.
Yeah, I really don't think any of them. I don't think I don't think any of them have the brain cells to pull any of that off. They can't even get this right. I mean,
it's funny you should say that because I've actually said those same words. Is that I didn't think anybody was smart enough to commit a murder, and it's funny you should say that because
they're not even smart enough to look at the.
You're not even smart enough to. You're not even smart enough to complete the ABC, Greg. You can't even follow the basic reports. You didn't even know what exceptionally cleared meant. You couldn't even research it. You had to go right to the police and try and get them to explain it to you because you're so stupid.
It's somebody like that. It doesn't even bother me when they say things like that because he is so beneath us.
It's ridiculous that here he is, or here they are, trying to make out that there's some kind of authority on this and they're the go-to people, and yet they can't follow the simplest of reports. They don't.
I mean, they got.
Go on, sorry.
The things they've made up is absolutely ridiculous, and if you believe someone that has a pretend coroner friend and thinks a gun is made of hair, I mean, whatever. So be it. You deserve to be over there.
Exactly.
documents and to understand what the documents say. It makes absolutely no sense. If they were really smart, if they were actually in on it, I think they would be very, very silent. So I would look more towards the people that we never hear about, the people that
Yeah.
we never know about, the people that
Yep.
are not mentioned in police reports, things like that.
I don't know if you're hip
Those
to
are really
this,
the
Greg.
ones.
And Greg, where can we find you? And where can we find your book?
Yeah, so I'm pretty much everywhere. If you just Google or search, don't Google, do a DuckDuckGo search for
We'll just mute this for a minute. We don't want to advertise Greg and his fake info.
Is what?
He's talking about his novel that he claims is fact.
Oh yeah. Yeah, there's not anything factual in that.
I know. I think the rest of this is actually just
in the future. We're gonna
promoting
have a
himself.
long talk
I'll just-
about
Really?
a long talk
Oh,
about that
juicy.
stuff. So
Juicy.
yeah.
I think that's pretty much
Hello,
it.
everyone. This is Sophia.
Oh, girl, we don't
The end
know.
of it.
Yeah, pretty much. It's just them trying to flog their books and their merchandise and all of that rubbish.
Well, that's the thing is, they want to do all that, you know. Why try to profit off a tragedy? You're having to make all this stuff up and force it, you know. It's ridiculous. You have to call people retarded. You have no facts. You block people because they don't agree with you. I mean, it should be very obvious to people who's making it up.
Exactly.
It frustrates me.
It's just sad that so many people, well, I say so many people, there's really not that many people. It's just they have their little group of followers, but most people have turned off from it because they can, you know, most people don't need Greg to interpret reports for them. Most people have the comprehension once they finish looking at the report and
Yeah.
all the other
And they've
stuff.
got,
They can work it out for themselves, and then they look at Greg and Dan and Catherine and Sophia and just be desperate.
and they've got what, 4,000 people in there and 4 or 5 comments. I mean,
Yeah.
it's pretty sad.
It really is.
And they're trying to stir up this drama with us because they're losing views. Their stuff is going nowhere. And I mean, I wish some of these people that talk to us from Justice behind the scenes were comfortable with putting out their stories, because it would really tell you what's going on. But
Yeah.
I would never expose anybody like that.
Well, they
without their
see
permission.
they see all this shit show, and most people just go, you know what? I've got more important things going on in life. I don't need this kind of trolling and harassment. So, you know, most
Right.
people just go, I know enough, and I can accept that he did it, and it's a tragedy. I feel for his family, and why don't these people just let them all grieve in peace instead of just trying to throw shade on them all the time
Exactly.
and use it as some kind of thing to sort of get more views and hits and bolster their own egos?
But one thing we take very seriously at FACT is credibility.
Oh yeah, something that means nothing to Greg, but to
It means
most
everything to us.
decent people, credibility does mean something to them, because most people have genuine integrity, and credibility
Right.
comes in with that. And so yeah, when you've got somebody whose credibility means nothing to them, that's why you get the fake info of the so-called experts that don't exist. You get opinion being told to you as facts. You don't get shown the facts, and then when there are facts, they're telling you something completely different. Like with the DNA mixtures, and them saying that there's not enough genetic material to say who the minor contributors are. But quite clearly, if you read the report, it does tell you this person is the major contributor, and these people can't be excluded from being contributors, but they're not the major, so they're the minor contributors. It's simple,
Right?
but it doesn't appear to be that way for them.
Well, I mean, whatever fits their narrative is what they go for the day. And when people make up something or get something wrong, they don't correct it. They just
No.
run with it.
Yeah, you know, and it changes weekly from what they're saying. One minute it's this doesn't happen, then it's this does happen. You know, they were saying that the animal scavenging didn't happen, but then Rick interviewed a vet, and then he decided, with what the vet told them, yes, they do this, yes, it does happen. So then they kind of conceded slightly, but then tried to make out that the dog was eating all the skulls and everything, when you can see a photo with skull pieces on the floor in the house. You can see the skull pieces collected for the medical examiner. In the medical examiner report, it says the skull pieces articulated to form a skull. So how could the dog have eaten the skull if you can see photos of it in pieces? It didn't. He didn't. He ate the soft tissue and the brains and things like that have got goodness in them.
Well,
for want of a better word.
In all the reports, there's nothing that says that Paleo ate the bones. Nothing.
No.
In fact, it says they carried out bags and bags of bones.
He chewed on some, he consumed some, but most of it is soft tissue and flesh that he consumed, and chewed on the bones, but not all of them. And the skulls are in the state that they're in because once the skin and the hair are gone, there's nothing holding that skull in place. So then the brain becomes exposed. So he's scavenged on that for goodness, and facial tissue and stuff that can all be eaten, but he's left all of the bones and things.
And they don't understand basic decomposition. For example, Rainy's arm. I mean, after 3 weeks, the tissue starts breaking down, and that's all that holds the joints together. And instead, it's way more exciting to say somebody ripped the arm off. So now they ripped this child's arm off, took it with them for a trophy. It's full of DNA. It's going to decompose. It's going to stink. These are professional hitmen taking an arm. Does that make any sense?
It's just crazy. And I mean, and the shoulder is like the only joint in the body that is only held in place with like muscles and tendons. So that's why you've got all the movement in your shoulder, and you can move your arm in so many different directions. But it's just nonsense that they come out with, and then say that it's a fact. Just like with this idea that you can physically pull someone's arm off, like a human can pull another human's arm off. Well, then in all these like cage fights and mixed martial arts and wrestling and stuff, you'd constantly be seeing all these wrestlers
armless.
Yeah. You can dislocate, sure, but actually like physically pulling it and removing it from the body, no. But with a sharp set of teeth, plenty of time, decomposition and pressure, a dog very much can.
Yeah, and especially after 3 weeks of decomp, it's going to come loose, and it'd be very easy just to fall off. Really.
Yeah.
Wouldn't take much at all.
If only they would do some simple Google or any search engine research, they would find plenty of studies that cover all of this, and you'd see that it really is very possible and does happen.
And all these things are readily available to find. I mean, professional studies, and they still deny it.
Yeah, I mean, professionals have access to all sorts of records that the general public don't, yet they still dismiss it because it doesn't go with the narrative. So that is just one example of how much rubbish is talked about us and how much they are trying to goad us into going and interacting with them so that they can get hits and cause trouble and distract from the case in hand.
Well, one thing I wanted to say is we've went over all this stuff. We've researched it. We've spoken to experts, and we're not just putting out fodder. But we encourage everyone to go and research it for yourself. Don't take our word for it. Don't take anybody's word for it. Go look it up. See if we're lying.
Definitely.
If they say we're lying, check it out.
Yeah.
And then you can see for yourself who's telling the truth, and you can make an educated decision that way.
If anyone needs any help, we can point you in the right direction of where to find resources and
absolutely. And we've saved a lot of the professional information that we have. We'll gladly share that with you, but we still encourage you to look it up yourself. Find your own information on it.
Definitely. And you will see that we are facts versus fiction. We will give you the facts and we will provide you with the fiction so that you can see this is the fiction, this is the real world studies by peers and experts and professionals, not people who are just trying to pass off their opinions to make themselves important. At the end of the day, Rani is the ultimate victim, and Kamal and David are victims of themselves, and their families, they're victims. They've got to get through the rest of their lives with this pain, and it is not helped when you've got vindictive little people on the internet talking nastiness about your family, about your friends, about your loved ones, about your conduct and your love and your relationship with your child. They don't deserve that. They deserve to be left alone so they can grieve in peace and try and salvage something of the memories of their children without having to see their decomposing bodies on the internet.
And they're also being accused of murdering them. So, it's insult to injury.
It does. And no one deserves that. Nobody. So on that note, we will end this one for now. And no doubt we will be back very soon with some more information for you. So thanks for joining us. And
I'm signing off. I'm Tony Floyd.
Oh yeah, but we hope you. I'm Tony Floyd. We hope you enjoyed it and have a laugh at just how childish things can get. But ultimately, keep the Crowley family and the Alam family in your thoughts and be respectful. So thanks for joining us, Joe.
Thank you. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, bye.